Let's talk about a winning streak, shall we? Good afternoon, everyone. It is January 4th, 2020, and the San Jose Sharks, let's not get too excited, but they are on a winning streak. They beat the Columbus Blue Jackets and end their 12-game point streak with a score of 3-2. Welcome to this afternoon delight edition of Teal Town After Dark. We do this after every game, so if you want to be a part of the show, here's how you do it. Join us in the chat on our Periscope right now. We love the hearts coming in as we speak. Appreciate it immensely. Of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, and of course our Discord channel. We're up and running now. And of course, for more Sharks content, visit us at tealtownusa.com. Pleased to be joined by the angry Canadian robot himself, who I don't think can be too angry, and that is Mr. Ian Reid.
Nope, I can't really be angry today. I mean, it was a good afternoon of hockey for me. I had some dual screen action going on, watching the World Juniors and watching the Sharks, and both games ended the way I wanted them to, so can't argue.
Nope. And it'll be interesting to see. We'll get into the World Juniors in a little bit, because I want to talk a little bit with you on this. Nonetheless, let's talk about this game. The Sharks coming off a overtime victory against Pittsburgh, going up against Columbus, who's just been on a roll. They were 11 points out of a playoff spot a couple of weeks ago, and now they sit just 3 points out of a playoff spot in the East. And of course, John Tortorella definitely seemed like he was going to be fired up, especially after last game and the lack of time management from the Nationwide Arena box. So,
yeah, I mean, it's for them. I mean, I don't blame John Tortorella if he's frustrated. I mean, you have a couple of seconds that are taken off of your time. You end up going into a shootout, and then your starting goalie gets injured. And so tonight, the Sharks are facing a backup goalie. Maybe they would have anyway, right? I mean, I said 2 games ago against LA that, this is the thing that the Sharks have to take advantage of. Are they now the trap game? They are going to be the team that has to. They're the team that's going to get the steady diet of backup goaltenders for now, I think. I think a lot of people are going to look at their schedules and they see the Sharks coming up on it. They're going to probably start their backup. The Sharks are the trap game now, and you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. And I thought the first half of the first period, I thought the Sharks really did it, because Columbus, there was really nothing going for Columbus in that first half of the first period. And if the Sharks are going to find success, this is how they're going to do it.
Yeah, I thought they carried that engagement, and we talked about this last show with AJ. I thought they carried their engagement in their give a damn level up that notch, and they carried it over into this game. And you saw that with, and granted it was called back on an offsides challenge, but Shellman with a nice break set up a 2-on-1, and I thought it was a great shot, beating Elvis. Okay, let me try this here, Ian.
Yeah, I can't. I'm
Merzalikins.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
All right.
I'm gonna go. I spent half the game arguing about why Shellman is Shellman and not Kelman, so I'm not gonna.
You almost want to have that J in Shellman, but I thought. Yeah, I thought the first period they looked like they were engaged. They were into it. They were kind of throwing the body a little bit around.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they looked pretty good, even though that goal got called back, but that didn't get them down like they have in the past.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was unfortunate, but it was the right call. Definitely was the play was definitely offside. It was very, very clear. Once they showed the replay, I think we all just kind of shrugged our shoulders. Oh, hell, that's coming back. But yeah, no, they played really well, and I think it did I think spur Columbus back into the game. So I thought Columbus was a better team for the second half of the period. But I thought the Sharks still like they kind of stuck to their game, and that's kind of what you want to see in these situations, right?
Yeah, and they stick to their game. They play, they don't play down to an opponent, although it's tough to play down to any opponent anymore right now. But
Yeah.
but I mean, they didn't they tried to play their game. They tried to put the pressure on them. They tried to get those body checks going. Try to stay engaged, stay smart defensively. I thought defensively sound, and we've talked about the goaltenders, last couple of shows,
Sure.
how they've been great. But you got to give some credit to the defense as well for helping out the netminders.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's definitely a fair comment. I mean, there's still things that in the defensive game for the Sharks that I'm sure that Bob Bugner would want them to clean up, obviously. So, I mean, they're not completely out of the woods yet, but you are seeing little improvements in their game. There's still some things that kind of irk me. There are some things where it's like meet the new boss, same as the old boss, but there's definitely been other positives as well.
Yeah, and sure. I mean, prime example would be the EK65 giveaways or the Burns giveaways, which we've seen time and time again in the past. But yeah, I thought the first period, good solid one. I thought the second period was going pretty well. Unfortunately, Goodrow takes a slashing call. About little over 5 minutes into the period. And then he comes out, and it was just a great feed to set him up on a breakaway from Hurdle, and he goes backhand beating Merzlikins to
Yeah.
make it 1-0.
Yeah, it was I mean, it's definitely the way you always want to respond after taking a bad penalty, which I thought the Goodrow penalty was. And it's nice to see Goody get on the board again. I think Goodrow's play has been really good. I mean, here's the problem, right? Like, I know there was a lot of Twitter like, oh, he hasn't scored in a bajillion games. And it's like, well, yeah, but he's Barclay Goodrow. He's not supposed to score every game. Like, scoring from Barclay Goodrow, like that's your depth scoring, right? Like that's supposed to be the nice little icing on the cake. It's not supposed to be your go-to. And the fact that it's being brought up like the Sharks, like, oh, we need more from Barclay Goodrow. No, you're getting what you probably should get out of Barclay Goodrow. The problem is you have him miscast as a top six forward. But no, I think Barclay Goodrow's been a guy that I've been pretty positive on most of the season, and I continue to be because I think that he's not going to be confused for a 40 goal scorer, a 30 goal scorer. Not even getting 20 of Barclay Goodrow would be an absolute treat. But if you could get the odd goal from him here and there, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and we've mentioned this before, but you talk about a guy who's just has had his game step up since Game 7 against Vegas. I mean, if there's a guy who's kind of exceeded expectations this season in a season where it's been very rough, I mean, he's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good because the Sharks forward depth isn't great. We've beat this horse to death, but you have gotten a guy like Goodrow who's been able to step up and give you some quality minutes, and he has given you some offense. Maybe not as much offense as the Sharks need right now from a guy playing in his position, but I think for what he is, I think he's been great.
Yeah.
And that's not, and that might come off as a backhanded compliment, but it's really not intended to be so.
No, I wouldn't even take it as a backhanded compliment because honestly, there were times where, I mean, as of 2-3 seasons ago, he was with the Barracuda, trying to find his game, and he's just taken it to another level. So, SJ Sharky fan 12, good afternoon. As a Goodrow fantasy owner, and we try not to emphasize the fantasy stuff except if it's just me and Jerk, I'm already happy with the hits and blocks. Anything else is bonus. And kind of got a point there a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
So you get that, but unfortunately, a minute 45 later, and correct me if I'm wrong, was Werenski in the same draft as Timo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that draft, I wanted Zach Werenski so bad, and he just had to fall one more spot. One more
Right.
spot.
Columbus was in front of the Sharks in that draft.
They had the eighth pick. The Sharks had the ninth.
Yeah, Werenski
And I
would get
cried.
Werenski would get his 12th of the season from Jenner and Foligno on a backhand to tie this one up. But one was what did you see in that one?
It was a bad defensive breakdown by the Sharks. Stop me if you heard this one before. Zarensky had just a ton of ice, like way more ice to work with than he ever should have had off that draw. But I'll give Dylan some credit though, because I think that he really the only shot he really had left to go, like he wasn't going to be able to drag that back to the forehand without Dylan. So Dylan kind of wears the horns and the wears the goat horns, and he kind of gets to be kind of the hero at the same time, because really the only shot Werenski had was that backhand, and he made no mistake with it though. It was a brutal it was a brutal but good play somehow, and then it ends up in the back of the net, which is so Sharks.
Yeah, unfortunately. Ties it up at one after two periods, and I thought, okay, or not after two periods, but I was like, okay, but they still seemed like they were in it, and they were desiring to and get that passion for that next goal. And sure enough, a guy who needed one probably more than anybody else. We had a lot of those in this game. Definitely got to go in there. Evander Kane with a nice wrister. Kudos to Barclay Goodrow for screening. Crap. Elvis. We're just going to call him Elvis, all right?
We're going to almost run out. That's what we're going to do.
He beats Elvis to make it 2-1. That's where it would end after two periods. But Evander Kane, his 15th of the season, nice to see him get off the schneid there.
Goal scorer's goal for sure. I know that's really, really cliche, but it really was. I mean, with the way things have been going for this team, Kane could have just shot that puck immediately, but that extra second he held on to the puck to give himself a little more ice. Basically gave him just a ton to shoot at, and that's like I said, it's cliche as hell, and I know, and I try not to be cliche on the show, but it was a goal scorer's goal, and it was definitely a nice to see the Sharks get that goal. Nice to see the Sharks retake the lead. Definitely, stuff like that you want to see, because Evander Kane's a guy who, as we mentioned on the schneid, he's a guy that you would be concerned about. Maybe, some guys, when they stop scoring, they grip their stick a little tighter. Again, I'm just going to be super cliche man today, apparently. but it was nice, like that play. He didn't panic. He didn't just fire the puck there to get the puck off the stick. He held it, waited for the right opportunity, released, goal. It was pretty. You can't draw him up any better.
I'm just waiting for you to say pucks in deep and.
Yeah, pucks in deep. Got to play for each other. Pucks in deep. Got to play our game.
Yes. And the Sharks only had 6 shots on goal. They get two goals on those 6 shots in the second period. So you move along in the third period, where they outshoot the Blue Jackets 11-2. And honestly, the first shot was like early on in the third. And their second shot would end up being Zach Werenski's goal. But before then, another guy that needed a goal badly, Kevin Labanc, with a nice snapper from Joe Thornton and Erik Karlsson, that with 3:01 left makes it 3-1 Sharks. Hoping that it was a backbreaker, but talk about somebody who needed a goal. I know I just said that, but damn.
Well, that whole line, hasn't been good enough. Let's be honest. Yeah. That line needs to be better. When you look at the Sharks, like we've beaten the horse to death about their lack of forward depth. Earlier in the chat, there's like, well, what's happened to Marcus Sorenson? Well, Marcus Sorensen's another guy who's been, we've watched Joe Thornton through his career elevate other players. And I think Marcus Sorenson's a great example of a guy who's been elevated by other players. And Joe Thornton's not having as great a season. I think that's, not to try and bring the show down because we won, and that's great. But I think if we're being honest with each other, Joe Thornton hasn't had a great season so far, and that third line has suffered because of it.
Yeah.
And it's really that simple. So yeah, it was definitely nice to see that line because I thought it was just a nice play. And, it was a good goal by Banker, but it was a solid play all around by that line. So definitely what you want to see. But the Sharks, I mean, if this is the start of something, that line needs to turn it around hard.
Yep. And you hit it on the head there that if it is the start of something, we won't say what that something is. Jessica saying, so without Jumbo, he's just a guy?
He's just a guy. Absolutely just a guy. I don't think anyone, yeah, he's just a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So Banker gets his 9th to make it 3-1. That became hugely important because Zach Werenski does it again just 25 seconds later on a snapper with the goalie pulled. So they made it close, made it interesting at the end. And then the last minute, Columbus had a chance and got a break of their off of an icing call at the very end there, though, for the Sharks. So overall, what did you take from this? Well, you're on the East Coast, so this afternoon's
afternoon. Yeah, look, I thought, I mean, this is the kind of games that the Sharks are going to have to win. I think that, they had a good win in Pittsburgh last night, good win in Columbus today. But the problem is that if you're the Sharks, I'm not trying to be negative, I'm trying to be real. If they can turn this thing around, which I'm still very much in the camp that they can't, but these are the kind of wins that they have to get to do so. They got another test. The problem is if you're the Sharks at this point in the season, you've run out of, throwaway games. There's no more throwaway games. You can't have a bad game anymore. So in order to, if they can keep this up and move forward, which I think, why not? I mean, we've seen stranger things happen. These are the games they're going to have to play. They're going to have to get production from guys they need to get production from, though. And you're starting to see that. The problem is can you get that production consistently? And that is going to be the big question and a big ask for the Sharks going forward. Can you get this production out of players? And can you keep the puck out of your own net? So far, they've done really well. Aaron Dell has been fantastic for the Sharks. And even since the coaching change, I don't think Martin Jones has been terrible either, but I think he's definitely been outplayed by Dell. I don't have a ton of confidence. I wouldn't have a ton of confidence if I saw Martin Jones suddenly get the starts because he's the guy making the money. Like, that would kill my confidence in seeing this team going forward. There's still some funny things, like, I wasn't on the last show, but I'll say, like, Antti Suomela being out of the lineup after the game he had in Detroit for Melker Karlsson is absolutely ridiculous to me. And that kind of goes back to, hey, hi to the new boss, same as the old boss. But there's things you can build on here. They're not out of the woods. They're not even close out of the woods. They're in a deep hole. And just like Jessica saying, it's 2 games, and even if they go on a run, will it be enough? Anything can happen. We've seen crazier. I'm not saying they're going to make it. Like, I think that this team is still very much going to be on the outside looking in when it's all said and done. But at this point, the only thing you can really play for is to not give Ottawa a great chance at a really good pick at the bottom of the draft. Like, what else are you playing for at this point, right?
Yeah.
If you're the Sharks, and that's the unfortunate thing. Is Dell playing easier teams? I don't know. I mean, you gotta win the games you're put in. It doesn't really matter the teams that you're playing. I mean, look, Dell played against Pittsburgh. Jones played against Detroit. I mean, that's something, right? I'd play Dell again tomorrow.
And that was my next question was, who do you play tomorrow? And it's tomorrow morning, for that matter, too.
I would play Dell. I would ride Dell. I know some people are against it. I am not of the school of you cannot have your goalies play back-to-backs. I think it's this fancy new rule that we just invented. I you in this situation, if you're in the situation the Sharks are, and look at I just because I don't think they can make it doesn't mean I don't want them to push. Like obviously, I don't
Right.
want them to just. You don't want to. I don't want to watch them just throw away the rest of the season and lose a bunch of games like that. I want to see them go for it. Just because I think they can't doesn't mean I don't want to watch a good game of hockey. You go with the guy who's going to give you the best chance to win at this point, and at that point, that's Aaron Dell, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And even if they platoon for a while, I kind of mentioned this, on Thursday night. Even if they platoon a little bit,
Mhm.
it's not a bad thing. We saw the how the last few Cup champs have kind of been platooning. We saw with Fleury and Murray in
Mhm.
the back-to-back years. You saw, Holtby, you know, yeah, he had a decent amount. You're not going to see like when Archer's Urbe played 78 of 84 games in 94. You're
Yeah.
not going to see that. You're going to see, a 59-23 um split of sorts. So that's good. And even if you more so, then that's even better for I think for the team. I'm trying to pull up the stats between Dell and Jones and see what the ratio is for them all. But
I mean, Jones has been an absolute workhorse for the Sharks over the last few seasons. Peter DeBoer rode Martin Jones quite, and look at and some goalies you ride them because that's what you do with them.
yeah.
Some goalies respond like some goalie. There's not like the problem with this is that there's this notion that like all goalies are the same and all goalies need X amount of rest. There are some guys who need a good backup to push them. There are some guys who do not want that and they play worse when they have a guy pushing them.
Right.
Like Patrick Waugh was notorious for having terrible backups because he didn't want the competition. He wanted to be know that he was the guy. Um, you know, and so Martin Jones, I'm not saying like you some goalies you can ride. Like there's some guys that you can ride into the playoffs. They can play a ton of games. Marc-Andre Fleury is a guy who you can ride for a ton of games, and it works fine. Some goalies do need the rest though. I mean,
Right.
but I mean for the Sharks right now, like you're not. If you're the Sharks now, you're just trying to make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you go with the guy who's going to give you the best chance to make it because that's all you're playing for right now. That's the only way out is up, and you got to play the guy that's going to give you that up. You can't really worry about like if I'm the Sharks, I'm not so worried about back-to-backs or anything else because right now I know the odds are against me to make the playoffs. So you got to put your best foot forward and just try and make it, and you have to put the best team on the ice to make that happen. And if that means Aaron Dell's in net for a crap ton of games until the end of the season, that's what it's got to be because you can't afford to have. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen because Martin Jones has been better lately, but you can't afford to have Jones come in and give you a stinker. You run out of stinker games.
No. Yeah, you can't afford to have those games where you saw like in Vegas in the playoffs in Vegas where you give up a goal 15 seconds into a game or heck even the first 5 minutes into a game. You can't afford to do it. And Chris mentioning that we do know that all goalies will suffer by being overpaid. The numbers bear out, even the so-called workhorses.
But
I,
you're just trying to make it though. Like I'm not. I'm just like the problem is for the Sharks is that you've run out of losses. You can't
yeah,
pile up. You've got maybe if they're realistically have a chance, you've got maybe 9 losses left. Like you can lose 9 more games, maybe 9.
it,
You're out of time. If you're the Sharks, you're out of time. Like unfortunately, this is the hole you're in. You have to play out of it, and if it means you have to ride a guy into oblivion, then you do it because at this point, like I said, what are you playing for right now? To not give Ottawa a prime lottery pick.
exactly. I mean, at this point, you're just trying to reduce the chances of them getting the number one pick overall. So, SJ Sharky Fan 12 saying the problem with Jones is that you don't know what you'll get. when you put him in net. Dell, you do.
For now, I
And
mean,
for
goalies
now,
are
yeah,
fickle, right?
exactly.
Like we could say that. I could say start, oh well, they should start Dell tomorrow, and then Dell gets lit up for 6,
Yeah,
and then what, right? I
and
mean,
then we look like we,
then I'm an
beat
idiot.
Crow.
So I mean, but I mean, again, that's the problem. Dell's given you the better hockey of late since the coaching change. I think we would argue that the I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
But Dell's
Dell's
giving you a
giving you the better. Yeah,
chance.
Dell's giving you the best. Yeah, he's given you the best chance to win so far. I think, there are going to be games where obviously you're going to have to start Jones, but unless Jones shows you something just absolutely phenomenal, you you ride Dell.
Yeah. And Sonic Tonic mentioning, I hate that so many people crap on Jones even when he isn't playing. Uh,
I'm not trying to
it's not.
crap on Jones.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear here. Martin Jones, I am giving credit where it's due. Martin Jones has played better as well of late. The
Yes.
problem is that look at the numbers bear it out. Jones has had a rough 2 years. We're 2 seasons now. We're not talking like a rough patch, but and I'm not saying that you have to completely give up on Jones. Like I'm just saying right now, if you're the Sharks and you want to make the playoffs, it's going to be a super uphill climb.
Yeah.
You got to go with the guy that's giving you the better goaltending. I'm not crapping on Martin Jones. I'm just saying like Dell has been better, and until that stops being true, Dell should be the guy playing in net. That's not a knock on Martin Jones. It's just simply you got to play who's giving you better hockey. So far, since the coaching change, that has been Aaron Dell, undisputed.
And Jones has had a lot late. He's even though the game against Detroit where he gets the loss, he played fantastic, only allowing one goal. So
Yeah.
you give him that, and yeah, and Sonic making this, and I think we completely agree with you, man. I'll tell you this though, I have more faith in Jones since Nabby came in. I think you have more faith in both goaltenders since Nabby's come in. I
But I
think
think you gotta let Jones win the net back. You can't just give the net back over to Jones. That's what I'm saying.
that's
I'm not saying I'm not look at we've got Martin Jones signed for a long time. So
yeah.
if Martin Jones can find out how to play hockey again consistently, that would be fantastic. And no one would be happier to see that than me.
Yep.
But you have to let him win the net back. You can't just arbitrarily give it back because he's the guy that you pay to be the starter.
Yeah. And what do you think of what Jessica says when do you see the Sharks riding Dell? Then if some miracle they make that P word, go back to Jones. And I honestly, I can't think
I
they
think
would do
you
that.
ride Jones. You look at, I mean, if you make the playoffs, and that's a big if at this point, let's
Right.
be completely honest. You are playing with house money at that point. Who cares?
Yeah.
You're just happy to be there at that point, right? I know the attitude should be Stanley Cup or bust, but at this point, with the season the Sharks have had, you're playing with house money. Who
Yeah.
cares how you do? Like if they win a round, who cares? That's fantastic because that's no longer a lottery pick you've given Ottawa,
Yeah.
and you get to watch a little playoff hockey that you probably had no. And if they do something crazy like St. Louis, then again you played with house money. The expectations are zero. You just enjoyed at that point.
Rob Iman, who's mentioned this before, is it time to scratch Sorenson?
I I don't know. I mean,
It's a tough one.
do I replace a guy with a guy? I guess so. I mean, I think Swamella should be in the lineup. I think, he should. After that game in Detroit, I thought he had earned himself a little more rope. But again, I mean, do I replace a guy with another guy? I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. I mean,
Is there?
I really try not to get. I understand that this is a thing that a lot of people do. I really try hard not to get too bent out of shape over the who's playing third line wing or fourth line wing this game. Like I don't care. I just want to see wins and losses. Like I want to see wins. I have my opinions on players, but I really try not to get really super bent out of shape over these minor minor details. And
Yeah.
maybe on the show I come on and I rant on them a little heavier, than it gives an idea that I care more than I do. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah. Getting some stuff from Postgame, and granted, if you're just joining us, thank you. Make sure if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, well, I apologize, this isn't live, but do hit the subscribe button. And of course, if you're watching us on Twitter or Periscope, please hit the follow button. We GIF games where we're allowed to on the Twitter machine. But in our chat, Couture is saying, kind of calling out Erik Karlsson for a little prodding for Kurz during post game, and I'm trying to see if Kurz posted anything on that one. But interesting, the captain's now starting to call out people, and
Well, it's not new,
but at least known, I guess. At least I guess more so in public.
Yeah, I mean, look, someone asked me earlier, and I had the numbers. I don't have them in front of me anymore. But if you're looking for giveaways, and then I just looked this up quickly on NHL.com. I know there's much better sources for this kind of information, but Erik Karlsson is definitely far and away the leader. I think it was something like before tonight's game, I think he had like something close to 60 giveaways this season. Brent Burns was, I believe, just under 50, and then it was Evander Kane with, I think, 37 before this game started. So obviously, look, there's something there. Like, you got to be a little more responsible with the puck, obviously. And I'm not a guy who there are people that are much harder on Erik Karlsson than I am, and I do not count myself among them. But I mean, again, numbers don't lie. You got to be better.
Right. For the question, because it's been asked a couple of times in here, when is the YouTube situation going to be fixed? We're hoping to find out something this week. We will let you know, of course. We're also trying to figure out some options. I mean, Periscope is honestly the best thing we have in the meantime.
We're making the best of a bad situation, guys. Yeah. Like, there's just really no other way to put it. We're trying to make the best of a bad situation, but we definitely hear everybody. Yeah. I look at Periscope's good for it's good, but it's not great. Obviously, people don't like change, so we're looking into it, but just understand we're making the best of a bad situation.
Right. It just goes to show you that they care about their NHL content more than they care about hits to the head in the NHL. That being said, I don't even think we should even, I'll just tease you with this. No, you don't even get the whole thing because it's an early game. So,
wow.
You got a couple of games going live right now, both having Western Conference implications. Jets and Wilder are 2-2. Scheifele's got his 20th on there. Blake Wheeler's got his 14th on the season. They're late in the third period, so let's hope they don't go into a 3-point game. So something, somebody score there for the sake of our sanity, preferably Winnipeg. Yes, and I'm supposedly glued to my TV because it's Minnie versus Winnie. So but St. Louis Sharks opponent on Tuesday. We won't like you then, but we love you right now. It's 2-0 Blues over the Golden Knights. Nearing the end of the first period, Pietrangelo with a power play goal. Jaden Schwartz gets on the board there. You have a bunch of other games going on later tonight. There's too many. I think
there's a ton of games.
One that's already final, and damn it, Bruins! You're supposed to be this juggernaut, and of course you decide to lay an egg against Pacific Division opponents. The Oilers win 4-1 over the Bruins. McDavid with his 23rd, Draisaitl his 24th in that one. Pasternak gets the lone goal for the Bruins, his 31st of the year. Could we see a 60-goal scorer in the NHL?
I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. Like there's half the season left. I don't know. I mean, you're already halfway through the season. I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl are both sitting like in the mid-20s right now. It seems far-fetched. Like they are, if there's two players that could do it, are they among them? Absolutely. But I think it seems a little far-fetched at this point.
Yeah. Or even do we see two 50-goal scorers for that matter? Pasternak's
Oh,
on.
that's possible. Yeah.
I think Pasternak is already there.
Yeah, Pasternak's 31 goals. Like again, I never say never, but I just feel like, with the amount of games left, I mean, anything's possible, but it's not the 80s. So
yeah. So that's your quick little wraparound going on tonight. Of course, for you who love the San Jose Barracuda. Oh, wait, did I say Barracuda?
Ooh, Barracuda!
Your San Jose Barracuda are playing later today. You can check out the audio on the Sharks Plus SAP Center app. They're in Tucson, taking on the Roadrunners. They lost
are they not right now? I thought they were playing right now.
tonight at 6 o'clock.
Oh, there
6
you go.
o'clock Pacific time. They lost 5-1 to the Roadrunners, where the Roadrunners gave up or scored the last 5 goals in that one, including 4 in the third period. Ouch. So be on the lookout for that. Of course, they return home Wednesday before the Sharks do, actually. They'll take on Ontario Reign at 7 p.m. So you can get tickets there. Of course, if you're going for all day San Jose and Saturday, and if you're not a football fan, the Barracuda are also at home Saturday on the 11th against Stockton. That's at 1:15. Get more at sjbarracuda.com for that one. Ian, I'll let you have a moment about the World Juniors.
So World Juniors, Canada versus Russia for the gold. Same as that was, I guess. I mean, I love these games. I'm not gonna bore you guys too much with this. Canada had a big win tonight, although Barrett Hayton, the captain for Team Canada, also former Sioux Greyhound, took a little tumble into the boards. I didn't think there was anything malicious about the play. It looked like Hayton kind of just lost an edge in a race for an icing, went into the boards hard. Hopefully he is okay, but looked really, really, really scary. But yeah, so it's gonna be an exciting game. I mean, I love playing the Russians and these things, win or lose. I think those games are always super fun. And I guess it will be the Finns and Sweden for the bronze. And I think that'll be a good game too. It's crazy for Sweden though, because like they've won, I can't remember the exact number, but the stupid number of round robins they've won, like just undefeated in the round robin for I think 50 some games now, and 1 gold medal to show for it. Right. Just got to win when it matters, I guess, is the lesson there.
So Canada versus Russia. That'll be a fun one.
It's gonna be exciting. It'll probably be on the same time as the Sharks, of course, which means I'll be split screening again.
Oh, fun! So Ian will be in a slew of hockey. I am very jealous.
So if you get a bunch of Sharks tweets and then suddenly just something random, it's because I'm watching the World Juniors at the same time. Because I know I did that a couple times today, where it's like, and people are like, Hayden, what the?
Yeah. All right. With that, let's close this up. The Sharks, well, they get on a bus, maybe a little jet, and head over to Washington to play the Capitals tomorrow morning, 9:30. Hope you like Sharks with a side of coffee, hash browns, French toast, Eggo waffles.
Yeah, I mean, you can play a game. Who's more awake, you or the Sharks?
Oh, damn. Just freaking mic drop right there, Ian. Nice.
It's a rough. I mean, these are obviously rough starts for the Sharks. They particularly historically haven't performed well in these games, but look, today proved anything can happen.
Yeah, and that's the big one. That'll be a big one with the Sharks and Capitals. I thought they played them fairly well when the Caps were in town earlier this year, but We shall see. So
We shall see.
with that, we'll bring it to a close. Ian, as always, thank you so much. Your final thoughts and where the people can find you.
Pretty much same as my thoughts were after the Los Angeles game. It's like, this is good, but this has to build to something. You can't. The Sharks are, like I said, they're out of losses. You can lose maybe 9 more games this season, and then after that, things get really, really ugly, really, really fast. So, obviously, you want to see the Sharks keep playing the way they are. You want to see Dell keep playing the way he is, and you want to see guys continue to score. It's really, really simple at this point. Pucks in deep, play their game, all the cliches.
And he is at Ian Boggs Hockey on the Twitter machine.
Yeah.
I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. And of course, if you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple or Google Podcasts. YouTube, where the replay will be posted in a little bit. SoundCloud, where it's audio only. And of course, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, you name it, you love it. tealtownusa.com, where you can find everything there. So we'll be back with you following the Sharks and Capitals. That is a 9:30 start tomorrow morning. Get you going in the morning, and we'll be there. And, let's hope for a third win in a row. I mean, we can only hope as the Sharks try to see if they can salvage themselves out of this mess. So we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us on the social media. Tell all your friends, please. We love the support. And until tomorrow afternoon, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great afternoon, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.